Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to building a crash damage Ducati 899. This is episode 8 of the rebuild and it's starting to get really exciting because we've got lots of parts that are going back on the bike. I'm standing in front of it right now because I'm trying to cover up all of the work we've been doing. Behind me over there on the shelf is lots of parts we need to get back on the bike. And then also at the end of the episode, we're going to be going online and having a little look at the panel set I'm going to be buying for the bike. There's not much to say really, apart from it's getting really exciting and fun because all the bits are starting to go back on the bike. And that's kind of it for the intro of this episode. Let's get on with it. And as I explained in the last episode, we're going to be using the workshop manual and the owner's manual to build the bike back together properly. We're also going to be using all of these Loctites and compounds on the bike. In today's episode, we're putting lots of new parts back on the bike. Down here, I've got the wheels, the exhaust system, rear sets, and lots of other bits and pieces that are going back on the bike. Starting off with the brakes and the front wheel. Over here in this box, I've got the brake calipers that have been fully cleaned up. There's new brake pads and bolts, and they're ready to go back on the bike. Over here, I've got the rear brake caliper with new bolts that looks nice and clean. In this box, I've got all the exhaust hardware, which is basically cleaned up and looking like new. Rear sets that have been washed and cleaned, they're ready to go back on the bike. And down here, we've got the exhaust. Anyone that watched the first episode would have remembered that this exhaust piece had a stripped out bolt. It was snapped in there. So we've drilled it out and put a nut and bolt on it. I've also replaced all of the other bolts with good quality ones. So the exhaust is ready to go back on the bike, but first we're going to start off with the wheels and the brakes. And to be honest, it's super exciting because the bike's starting to come together. All these bits are starting to go back on the bike. I'm going to start off with the front wheel and the brakes. We're then going to move on to doing the rear wheel and the exhaust system. One of the reasons why I'm starting at the front of the bike is because I want to get all of the handlebar controls back on. Once the front wheel's on the bike, we can move the headstock stand and then I can start putting all of the controls back on the handlebars. Alright, let's get into it. I'm going to start off by putting the brake pads back into the brake calipers. That is the front wheel and the brake calipers on. We're going to put the front mudguard on the bike and then we can route the ABS wire. This front wheel crash slider was the one that come on the bike, so it's a bit scratched up. I've got it on there for now, but I'm going to put a new one on. And even though the ABS wire is loose at the minute, these gold wheels look amazing on the bike. I've got the brake lines attached to the calipers at the moment. We're not going to bleed the brakes until we've decided what colour we're going to do the hoses, or whether we're just going to keep the yellow ones. What do you guys reckon in the comments? Should we leave the yellow brakes or should I put a different colour on? I also fitted the rear brake bracket with the rear brake caliper, and also plugged in the hose just to see what it looks like for now. Again, we're still thinking about changing these yellow hoses. We've also fitted the exhaust system back on the bike. It went on really easy because we cleaned up all the bits and pieces to it. It just slipped right on like it was new. The exhaust was quite hard to get off, so I thought putting it back together was going to be a little bit difficult. But it was fine, it all slipped together really easy and went on nice. I don't think I've showed you these parts yet. These are the rear sets that we bought off eBay. These are OEM Ducati rear sets. I'm not quite sure how much these are new from Ducati, but it's somewhere around 700 quid for the pair. We managed to pick both of these up for about 100 quid. They're a little bit dirty in places and covered in grime, so I'm going to give them a good clean up. So when we first got this bike, one of the things that annoyed us was the brake hoses. Because this bike was used on a track, the previous owner had it on a racetrack setup. So you had 2 individual brake line hoses going to each caliper. And while this setup gives you the best brake feeling for when you're on a track, it can be a little bit annoying because what it means is you get 2 brake hoses that go to the master cylinder. So things can get a bit tangled up. One of the things we noticed when we first got the bike was when we used to turn the handlebars, all the brake lines used to rub off everything. So we're trying to neaten it up and make it a bit of a cleaner setup. I bought these brake line hose clips off the internet. They're pretty cheap for a pack of 4. And they're just going to clip the 2 hoses together so it runs a bit neater. Where we're starting to put the brakes back on the bike now, I can't stop looking at these yellow hoses. They're starting to piss me off a little bit. So I'm really thinking about buying some new ones. For now, we're going to keep these yellow ones on, but I am going to soon buy some new brake hoses for this bike. Now we've got a lot of parts on the bike. We have the wheels, the brake calipers, the forks, the suspension linkage. The only thing we haven't done yet is put the rear wheel on. Something else that's going to be going on the bike today, these domino grips. So this is the first sports bike I've ever owned. I'm usually into adventure style bikes. These are grip covers. They're just like a wrap that goes around the grip. I didn't even know grip covers were a thing. So they just pop on there, you wrap it up, and it just keeps the grip protected when it's in the paddock stands. But yeah, I thought that this was the original grip design. When I bought them off of eBay, I thought the grips looked like this. I didn't realise that this white and black was just a cover. And the grips were actually red and black. Red and black matches the bike, I guess. It is a Ducati, so makes sense. It was really nice taking the bike off the headstock stand. It had been on there for about 4 weeks. And it's good to see the new gold wheels on the ground. And that's the handlebars on the bike now with grips and all of the controls. Something that was really nice with this bike is it comes with this racing Jet Prime start-stop switch. These can be quite expensive to buy new. It's looking so much better with this OEM top yoke on. And now it really feels like the front end of this bike's coming together because we've got the handlebars, the grips, all of the controls back on the bike. Another item that comes on this bike which is nice are these Brembo racing levers. They can be quite expensive when they're new. We've got a brake and a clutch. And even though these bits are not OEM, it's nice because they're good quality racing parts. And while we was at it, we got carried away and just started putting loads of bits back together on the bike. Since we put the exhaust on, we thought why not put the side stand on, so we went ahead and fitted that as well. And compared to how it was when we first got this bike, all of these bits and components look like brand new again. Before we cleaned this bike, this area was so dirty. This side stand switch you could hardly make out. It was so caked in mud, it was just kind of hidden away. But now, as you can see, ain't got one bit of dirt on it. Now, I'm sure once we take this on the track and go around a few times, everything's going to get covered in chain grease and oil again, but at least we all know we're starting with a clean bike. Something that's been really handy is my brother is an electrician, so he's been going around the bike and just sorting out all of the wiring on it. Just neatening up the harness and tucking away any wires that we're not going to need. He spent quite a long time cable tying and organising the wires so they don't get tangled up in the bars. Because when we first got this bike, something that annoyed us and something we noticed straight away was when you turned these bars left to right, a lot of things got jammed up and it made a lot of noises and things were getting caught. It seemed like wires and cables were getting pinched a little bit. So we've tidied a lot of it up so it don't get caught anymore. It's still not finished, it still looks like a bit of a mess, but it's a lot tidier than it was. I've still got a really long list of things to do on the bike, it's not over yet. We've still got to do an oil change on the bike, put new coolant and bleed the coolant system, sort the brake hoses out and bleed the braking system. Still got to put a new air filter in the bike, fit all of the lights, and another big thing we need to do is sort out a panel set. Over here I'm doing some internet shopping, I'm looking at the new fairings we're going to be ordering for our bike. So this is the website that we're going to be buying our panels from, it's called fastfairings.com. There's a few different websites that sell these fairings. A-Moto is a really popular one. But I went with Fast Fairings because they have an option to add a tank cover. And I'm pretty sure all of these panels come from the same supplier because the image is all the same. There's loads of different options you can go with. We was going to go with a crazy colour, but originally we wanted to go with tricolore, so we're just going to stick to that. The tricolore panel kits that they've got on their website are okay, but we wanted something a little bit more special. So when we first bought the bike, we see a panel kit that we really liked on the internet. So I sent the images to Fast Fairings and they said they're going to make them for no extra cost. So I emailed Fast Fairings, I sent them these images and they said they're going to make a custom panel set with this livery. So with a bit of luck, this is how our panels are going to come. The good thing is it comes with a matching tank cover, a tinted windscreen and a rear cowling piece, and it comes with all the inners as well and a bolt set. It was 500 quid for the panel set, which I don't think was too bad. So as you can imagine, I'm super excited for the panel kit to come. It says on the website it can take about 6 weeks, which is a bit of a shame. It means the bike build's going to be put on hold for a bit. There's still a lot of stuff we need to do on the bike over the next few weeks, so we're just going to have to keep busy doing that and just wait for the panels to come. This is the tank off the bike, and the main reason why we need a tank cover is because of the state of it. Anyone that watched the first few episodes will remember that this tank was hand painted by someone with a rattle can. The reason why he's painted this black with a rattle can, we think, is because the bike come with a tank cover already, and because it sits a bit high, he wanted a black line around the bottom so it didn't look like it was a tank cover. Because it's been painted with a spray can, any petrol that pours onto the paint runs and it just looks terrible. I hope that the tank cover that comes with our new panel set that we were just talking about covers this black line. If not, we're going to have to think about getting this tank sprayed. There's loads of other work that he's doing on the tank as well. This fuel cap was covered in the red metallic paint that so many other parts of the bike were covered in. I left some paint stripper on it and it's black underneath, so we're going to take all the paint off and see how it comes out. I know a little while back I said that we don't have no more big jobs to do on the bike, but the tank was something I forgot about. Over here we've got loads of things that still need to go on the bike, including putting new oil in it. I'm still waiting to put the back wheel on. We're getting ready to do it. There's a reason why we haven't put the rear wheel on the bike yet. This is the axle nut that come on the bike. It was anodized red and it got scratched up in the accident. This is a brand new one that I bought off eBay, but it seems to be made out of aluminium and it's really soft. I tried to tighten it on the bike with this giant adjustable spanner, but it just left marks on the edge of it and damaged it a bit, so I had to wait for a new giant 36mm socket to come. It was important to get a 12-2 socket so it doesn't damage the nut. Now that the socket's come, I can start putting the back wheel on, but it's all going to have to wait until the next episode. Down on the floor here we've got loads of panels that I'm going to be going over in the next episode as well. We've got both the front and rear lights for the bike, new oil, K&N air filters and fuel filters, new R&G track stand bobbins, new O-rings and a plastic fuel valve for the tank. And that is it for today's episode, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Join me next time when we'll be finishing off the bike. Fingers crossed by the end of the next episode I'll be getting a new panel set and we'll be fitting all the rest of these bits back onto the bike. I'm hoping to get the series finished by the next episode, but we'll probably end up doing another episode where we take this bike on the track, but that's all to come in the future. I know I've said this 1,000 times, but we've still got a lot to do on the bike. There's always new things that are popping up. So next episode, we're going to finish loads of the little jobs and get the bike finished.